Hello friends, my name is Shivam from DevOps Schools and I will help you to enable your learning process in various technologies of DevOps, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data and many more. This is our initiative to help you by sharing multiple tutorials and videos. And if you want any specific tutorials or any particular topic, then please do comment in the below comment section and I will help you with it. Also, please subscribe to our premium services on YouTube, which will give you access to more content and videos to enhance your knowledge about all these topics. Also, if you want me to help you with regards to the online trainings and classroom sessions by our qualified trainers, then please do write me at contact@devopsschool.com. Thank you.
I lost you in between, like your
I'm sorry.
voice
I'm
breaks
sorry.
in.
The end user is in public. Okay, internet, public internet.
Mm-hmm.
So when you make
Mm-hmm.
a call to the application, internally first it will hit the EC2. EC2 have to fetch data from S3 bucket and give it to the end user,
Yes.
right? But when the end user directly try to access the objects in the S3 bucket, it will not be accessible to him because its public access is disabled.
Yes.
So how this configuration can be done in AWS?
Yes. Okay, Karan. In that case, what you have to do is, first of all, even a person knows the URL of the S3 bucket, he won't be able to access the object because you made that bucket as you turned off the bucket public accessibility setting. What from the point of EC2 instance you have to do is you have to create a role. Okay, this is a role in between which will act as a communicator. So this
Mhm.
role will have a permission to access objects from S3. Okay, so this role will have proper permission like reading the S3 object from reading the objects from S3 bucket, that too specifically from one resource. And this role you will attach it to your EC2 instance. Okay, and as the application is running on this EC2 instance, whenever application try to access the S3 bucket, it has to go through a role. It has to assume this role first, and after the role has been assumed, whatever actions you have written in the policy which is attached to a role, which is nothing but a set of reading permissions on S3 bucket of this resource. So from for the end user, even if the end user has a URL, they cannot come directly as they have a URL, they cannot come directly and access the object because it's not allowed. But
Okay,
if
so
they come from the yeah.
my understanding is the role, irrespective of the access settings, whether it is public or private, irrespective of internal settings of the S3 bucket objects. So the role can have a read write permission. We can give assign
Yes,
permission to the role. Okay, okay,
yes, Kanan.
okay. Thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you.
And this actually happens whenever you wanted your one of the service to communicate with other, you will have to use a role and have to give a set of permission or actions on that particular resource where you wanted to, if you want to read, you want to write, or so on. That permission you have to attach to your role, and that role will be able to perform those permissions on behalf of the other service, like
Understood.
your end user
Understood.
or EC2 instance. Okay.
Understood. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
So yeah, thanks. So the issue is not over here, as we were talking about, issue is not making your bucket public, but issue could be very much if your access control list, which is over here, which is a kind of policy. If this access control list, you made everyone to list or everyone to read, okay? So if you made that happen, let's say list or read, then if that happens, what will happen? Anyone around the world, if they have an account on AWS, they will be able to list around the world. If you have your own account on AWS, you will be able to access my objects. You will be able to read the objects. You will be able to list my objects. Then there is an issue. You see that? That's a public, and then there's a red symbol of explanatory, which is a security issue. So that is where what we have to check. Okay. So from the compliance point or from the security, as you're working on cloud as a security engineer, you have to see that first that buckets is not, this particular setting of is not turned off. If it's turned off, you will go and see the access control list access control list. Okay, and if in the access control list you find that the bucket has been publicly accessible with list and read access, okay, that will automatically make all the objects inside this bucket to be completely readable by anyone around the world if you have an AWS if you have an AWS access key and or if you have an AWS account. So if you have an AWS account, you have an access key and secret key, you would be able to read the content of my bucket. So I just want to ask this from the crowd. Do anyone from the crowd have their own account in AWS? Your own account, not the lab account.
No, I don't
No
have a
one?
son. I don't have.
I think I have one. I used it a few months ago. After that, I have not done, but I think still that is active.
So Josh, try to check whether you're still able to access it or not, and let me know if you're able to access it. I'll keep this public for a. I'll turn that on again as like public reading and writing, and I'll show you a set of commands what you can do with my bucket.
Yeah, I'm just checking my access. Give me.
Yeah, do check and let me know. All right, so from the compliance point of view, from the security engineer, you'll see this first, that your public access is not been allowed, and the second thing you will see that the access control list over here is not being list and read. It's completely fine because people can have reasons that they turn off their block public access, but this is not fine on your access control list that you allowed everyone to list and read or to write or something. So make sure that that is not there, and which is questionable, and you can ask this question, because if that happens, if you have an access control list and you made that list and uh, read the objects, then what will be an impact that your objects which within the bucket will automatically becomes public. You don't have to make them public now. They will become public automatically. Okay, so nothing has to be done. You just even if people will come up and they click on the URL, they'll be able to access the object automatically. So I didn't make that public now, and when I click on it, you see that I'm able to access it. Right? I didn't click on the make public, but when I click on this, I'll able to read it out. Reason is because on the bucket policy, the access control list says that list and read is being applied to that particular bucket. Okay, so over here, when we go back onto this, we'll talk about the
Hey viewers, our Master in DevOps engineering program can help you to hone the skills necessary to succeed in high-level DevOps positions. So, what are you waiting for? Enroll now and earn certification that show you are keeping pace with today's technical roles and requirements. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
access control list as well, the policies of access control list. Okay, George, you have an access. Then do you have AWS CLI?
No, I don't
Okay,
have.
okay, that's the problem then. No worries. If you have a AWS CLI and you have an account on AWS, then there is a command. I'll just type it that command on chat box, and if you find that there is a bucket which is publicly exposed, then you can just try this command AWS S3 and then the S3 ls, sorry, AWS S3 ls, and that too with before you doing an ls, you will be trying to do sorry, you will write a URL of your S3 first. So URL of the S3, okay, and then write ls space ls, and if you write that, you will be able to see the bucket. If you find that there is a bucket which has been publicly exposed, you will be able to see that you can, ls stands for list objects, and when you say ls, it will list all the objects within that bucket. Okay, so on a permission, it's very important, right? It's very important that you do not turn on your access control list, you do not turn it on intentionally publicly for everyone. Okay, so if that is the case, that means it's a compliance issue and it's a very big issue, and we have to deal with it. We have to ask questions, raise concern that this bucket is publicly exposed with the access control list for everyone to list and read. Okay, that is what you have to look from the point of security. Okay, so let me just uncheck these two values. I don't want everyone to read and write the stuff. Okay, I'll come back to this access control list. What is it? Um, okay, and also I would like to add it my block public access. I would like to turn that off as well. Just confirm it. Okay, so we see the ACL, but let's talk about what ACL is, or access control list is. Okay, so we are going to look at we saw the access controls, what it can do. So what is the access control list? Okay, so access control list is basically, you can think of a legacy access control mechanism that basically used by S3 in order to give an access to the objects, okay, which is inside a bucket. All right, so you have access control list which is specifically applied to objects of that bucket. If you wanted to make your objects public, you have a lot of objects and you want them to be publicly readable and so on, then you use your access control list into, or access control list policy into all those areas, right? Access control list is specifically you apply it for the object. Okay, make sure that you know. Now before discussing further and discussing about, there's one more thing which we'll talk about, that's a bucket policy, and we should know about that very well. Okay, so what is bucket policy? We'll talk about that, but we have to see the concern of IAM and how IAM is correlating with the bucket policy, and so on. Okay, but make sure that you know access control list. So access control list is basically for, or you apply it for the objects which is inside the bucket. Okay, so let's talk about bucket policy. What is bucket policy and permission? If we go back, and over here you see that there's a bucket policy. Okay, here you see that there's a bucket policy. Okay, so this particular bucket policy, what is that? And we'll understand this. So bucket policy is a policy which is applied specifically to the bucket. Okay, so let's say, let's elaborate, let me elaborate it and give you an example of this. So let's go to a paint now to understand this much better. New, discard that. Okay, so let's understand this. So for example, I am having a role. Let's say I have a role where I have given a permission to this role, saying that this is an S3 role, and I've given a permission to this role that this particular person can perform create, okay, create, um, put, delete, and any other stuff. Okay, so this particular role can um, can create. Let me just increase the size of this. So I have a role, and this particular role can create, put, and uh, delete the things on all the buckets. Okay, so the person who has this access of this role, the person will be able to create, put, and delete the things on S3 buckets. Okay, so let's suppose that you have a list of, you have a lots of buckets. Okay, you have bucket 1, then you have bucket 2, okay, and then you have bucket 3, then you have bucket 4. Okay, so now you have list of buckets over here. All right, and you have a role, and that particular role has a policy that the role can create, put, and delete objects on different buckets.
Hey viewers, trying to get into DevSecOps? Enroll for our DevSecOps certified professional programs and earn the certification that shows you are fit for these technical roles and requirements. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
Okay, so imagine this: if a particular user came into a picture, and that user, okay, and that user has this role assumed because he has an access of it. So if this user comes into a picture and has a assumes this role, he'll be able to perform, he will be able to create buckets, he will be able to put objects into the in all the buckets, because that's what the policy has been written for that particular role. So you will be able to put objects on all the buckets. Okay, that's how it is. But I have a bucket over here. Over here I have a bucket which has a sensitive data, so I'll call this sensitive bucket. Okay, so I have a bucket over here which has a sensitive data, and I want okay, I want, sorry, I want no one. No one means no one. I want no one from from the whoever have an access to, even if an admin of an S3 should not be able to access the data inside my bucket, right? I don't want any role to access data from the bucket. Okay, so what I will do in that case, right? Because if someone has a role of S3 who has a role of, again, create, put, and delete the things on all the resources, this particular person will come and assume this role because he's allowed to, and will be able to perform everything and these set of actions on all the buckets. But let's suppose that you want this sensitive bucket not to be accessed. You want this sensitive bucket not to be, no one should put the object, no one should delete the object, no one should create the object, or this particular bucket should not be accessible by anyone else, okay, or by anyone. Okay, and then there is a question from Shivangi. Shivangi is asking, if bucket is publicly accessible but ACL has restricted rules configured, I mean nothing public, then it will be not exploitable. Only one can know bucket name, that's all right. Yes, yes, Shivangi, the answer is yes for that. Um, they know the bucket name, but they can the exploitation will not happen. Yes. Over here on the role S3 we were talking about. So think about this. We have a role, and then this particular role has an access to all the resources of the bucket, but you created a bucket, and you want that bucket to and that bucket has a sensitive data, and you want that bucket should not be accessible to anyone, or should be accessible with some conditions. Okay, so something you want on your bucket, okay, bucket specific thing. But imagine this: you have an account where you have lots of users, and you're not sure for thousand of roles are created over there. And that's, if you even remember our last session, Monica said that Monica came into the picture and gave you an access of the labs, right? But she said that, hey, I have a request to make, please do not delete any roles, right? She said that you can create a new role, but don't delete any role, right? Why she said so? Because there are these roles over there in the IAM, they might be doing something, right? So you're not, as you're working into a production AWS account, you're not sure how many roles has been there, and for what users, and who has created the role, and for what purpose that role is being is being served for, right? So as you have created a new bucket, and so you are not sure is there any role which has been given is this create put delete object, right? So you're not sure for the role, but you wanted to make sure this, that the sensitive data bucket which you have created or which is there, you want that bucket should not be accessible by anyone. Even the role has an access, the particular role should show something, or trustable should show, or should not be able to put anything on the bucket, right? So this is specific uh, um, policy, this is specific restrictions which you want on one bucket, or can be multiple bucket, or can be anything. So when the restrictions are specific to the bucket, then there is a permission comes into a picture that is called bucket policy. Come back over here, you see that public access has been blocked and blah 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 whatever. So a policy related, a specific permission policy related to specific bucket, that is called a bucket policy. And bucket policy, I'll give you one more thing on this. If your role says allow, but your bucket policy says denied will always override the allowed. So if you have a role which says create put and delete on the bucket, but bucket has a policy saying that deny by default, like I'm denying you for doing these actions, then you won't be able to do it. Okay, so in this case, to understand this sensitivity or to understand this bucket policy, let's create a bucket policy first and see how does it looks like. And then we will create some users, we'll create roles for them, and I will distribute those users to set of people, and then let's see what happens next. Okay, so let's first go to IAM and create some roles. Okay, so sorry, some users. So I'll go IAM. Okay, so sorry, so let me create some users over here. So I'll add 3 users, or 2 would be good. um Kanan used to ask lots of questions, so I'll have one username as Kanan. Shivangi did ask a question, so I'll add another user as Shivangi. And I want both of the users to go with management console. Okay, and then these are the 2 users named as Kanan and Shivangi. And I've given their management console auto-generated password. Go next. And then there's an option of attaching a policy. So we'll attach a policy, guys, over here. Okay, or let me go to, yeah, let me go to this. And should I give them S3 permissions, full S3 administrator, full access? Okay, so I give them full access, app ID, Sony. Yep, next. So these are the two managed policy. One is S3 full access, the other is I'm user change password for Kanan and Shivangi. Created. Taking time. So I'll share this password with Kanan. I'll share the password with Shivangi. Okay, so I've shared the password with you guys. You just you need my account ID as well while you are doing the login. Okay, so go to console, change your password, do ping me when it's done, and log into the account. Okay.
Hey viewers, are you looking for formal training on SRE practices? Take our SRE program. This course will teach you how to successfully implement site reliability engineering in the modern day 24/7 services. Kickstart your SRE training today. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
Kanan and Shivangi, do ping me once you change your password and you logged in successfully to the account through console. Okay. All right. Now coming back to this. So you saw that we've given a complete administrative access to Kanan and Shivangi. Now let's come back to bucket policy, and I'll click on added. I'm going to create a bucket policy here. Okay, so if you're good at writing JSON, then you would be glad to write a JSON file very easily. But just in case, because if you're new to if you're new to AWS, just let me close this tab and this as well. Let me close unnecessary tabs on my browser. Right. So if you're good at writing the JSON, you will be writing it out very easily and will be very easy for you to do that. But if not, you can click on policy generator. It takes you to the policy generator part where you can write your or compose your own policy. Okay, and it's easy to compose. Once it's come up, you'll see that. You will have options like where you have to select the type, and you will click on, or you select the bucket policy on the top, and you say deny. I would say principal to everyone has been denied. For specific actions on this, you can say everyone is denied to delete objects. Okay, resource ARN. All right, do you see the screen? You see that there's an S3 bucket policy. I said effect is denied. Principal is for everyone. I wanted to deny this. What action I want to deny is you can see that the action is delete object. Okay, so I said delete object is denied for everyone, and I have to write a resource ARN. Okay, what bucket you wanted to apply this on. So go back to your S3 again, and that's your bucket ARN. You just copy that. Okay, which has been copied. Come back, write your bucket ARN over here. Click on add statement. Now the statement has been added, and you click on generate policy. Okay, click on generate policy. The policy will be generated. Copy this complete policy from here. Come back to your S3 again. Write the policy which you have just created from there. On the resource, make sure that Shivanki won't be able to access the lab because it's gonna be for the 2 hours that will start from 2:30. Okay, so over here, just make sure that on the resource you put Sony demo 2 and /star and save the changes. Okay, wait for some period of time to save this bucket policy. Okay, meanwhile it saves the policy. We'll go back to Kanan. Kanan, are you able to do a login and change your password? So the bucket policy was edited successfully and it's been saved. Shivangi, you able to do a login and change password? If you're listening, you're on mute, so you can speak now. Okay. What about you, Kanan? Is it still there?
I think Kannan left the meeting.
Okay, no issues. All right, what I'm gonna do is, Shivangi, what issue are you facing? Do you know how to do a login on Amazon console?
Yeah, like, can I share my screen?
Yes, you can. Let me make you presenter. You're a presenter now, so you can share your screen. You don't have to go here, Shivangi. Just open a new tab. Yes. Right.
Okay.
AWS console. Yeah. AWS console login. Yes. AWS management
First
console.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, first one.
Thanks for watching. Want to study further? Join our training programs today.